What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to TRU Raider Podcast. I am your host, TRU Raider. Now, this is starting to get real. This is starting to get really, really real. And I'm telling you guys, man, like a lot of people are already throwing shade, saying, nah, it's just rumors and blah, blah, blah. And it is. At this point, that's what it is, right? But there's smoke, there is fire, right? And right now there is a lot of smoke emerging from the Ben Johnson interview that happened yesterday with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I'm personally getting really, really excited about this, and I'm getting excited about this because Ben Johnson is the coach that I want. Ben Johnson is definitely the most sought after up and coming head coach this coming season. And really, a lot of this has to do with the Brady connection. The Brady effect is actually starting to take effect already. It's rumored that the whole reason why Ben Johnson and some of these other top candidates have even accepted an interview is because of Tom Brady. Now, there's been so many times, man, where we got you know we've gone through how many coaches? Like, it's ridiculous at this point. And every single year, like, time that we're looking for a head coach, we're in this position where there's these really like top candidates that are out there, and we're hoping, yeah, I hope they go for them. They go for them, and then they don't even interview them. And like, it's like, what? Like, come on, man! Like, you didn't even call them in for an interview. What's going on? So, I'm gonna share a screen on YouTube, and you guys on TikTok. It's this thing that's in the background, but it says, and this is from Raiders Legacy, right? But it says Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson has quickly emerged as a top head coaching candidate for the Raiders after interviewing yesterday, per Ian Rappaport. The organization is said to be enamored with him. The Lions may be playing for a while into the Super Bowl, and if, in fact, he is the Raiders' first choice, they are willing to wait, and Tom Brady's role with the Raiders has played a huge factor. Sources say Tom Brady personally vouched for Johnson and implored him to take the interview. Through his agent, Johnson spoke with them. Essentially, Brady recruited Johnson to interview. Things could get spicy soon. Now, this is huge, right? Because we already know, right? We already know that with the Lions still being in the playoffs, that we're not likely to hear anything. And I even heard a rumor that we can't even select a head coach until the 20th, which I don't believe is true because last year we hired Antonio Pierce on the 19th. But right now, you know, the Lions are still in the playoffs, right? Lions are still in the playoffs, and so somebody's saying no, Ben Johnson needs to stay with the Lions. And the thing is, man, is that Ben Johnson's not going to stay with the Lions. Ben Johnson has legitimately proven himself as an offensive coordinator in this league, and he's going to get a head coaching spot. He has several interviews. He interviewed with the Patriots. He interviewed with us. Today he's interviewing with the Jaguars. And I got to say, man, like, yes, these other teams have a quarterback, but there's a lot to be offered over here. Jimmy Jam with the follow. Salute, man. What's up? So, Kenny D, what's up, my guy? This is an exciting time to be a Raiders fan. I have no idea what we're going to do. And really, I don't either, man. I do not know exactly what this is going to look like. Obed with the follow. Salute, man. What's good? So, man, all y'all need to stop trying to co-host with me. I'm not going to do that. It's crazy, man. That is crazy. So yeah, hit me in the inbox first and we can talk. Miguel with the follow. Salute, man. So right now, I'm gonna go ahead and read this this article from Bleacher Report. And it's gonna say some of the same stuff, man, but I want to read it, man. So it says NFL rumors. Tom Brady Raiders willing to wait for Lions Ben Johnson for head coach job. Tom Brady and the Las Vegas Raiders will be patient, waiting for Ben Johnson to decide if he wants to become their head coach. Per NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, the Raiders are willing to wait for Johnson to become available if the Detroit Lions have a long playoff run. Rappaport noted Johnson had a virtual interview with the Raiders on Friday. He spoke with the Chicago Bears on Saturday and is also slated to talk with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Fox Sports' Peter Strange, I don't even know how to say this dude's name, later added Johnson to the Raiders is picking up way more steam in league circles over the last 48 hours. Johnson figures to be one of the most sought after coaching candidates in this hiring cycle. The New England Patriots announced on Friday they also completed a virtual interview with the 38-year-old. Even though the Raiders haven't exactly a model of stability that a prominent candidate like Johnson would seem to prefer, they could have an ace in the hole this time around. Per The Athletic's Diana Rossini, Brady's presence as part of the Raiders ownership group has given them an edge in attracting candidates who may otherwise not have seriously considered working for them. Rossini previously reported Brady will have a lot of influence on the team's coaching search. They're also in the market for a new general manager after firing Tom Telesco on Thursday after a 4-13 record in his lone season with the club. Another complicating factor in all of this is whether or not Johnson actually wants to leave Detroit. He has been a top head coaching candidate for the past 2 years, only to decide he wanted to remain with the Lions. Per ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, some people within the league believe Johnson could return to Detroit in 2025. Telesco's firing could also help the Raiders with a candidate like Johnson, who would presumably want to be paired with a general manager that he has at least some rapport with to avoid a situation where there are competing roster building philosophies. The Raiders need to hit a home run with this hiring because this will be their fifth different head coach since the start of the 2018 season, if you include Rich Bisaccia's interim stint in 2021 after John Gruden's resignation. That time of instability is one of the big reasons the Raiders have only made the playoffs twice since 2003. Obed, do you think the Raiders will actually get Ben Johnson? I honestly do. I believe that the writing's kind of on the wall at this point, man. I really believe that, the fact that Ben Johnson went ahead and accepted an interview, and we got some backup stuff. Everybody's saying Mike Vrabel to the Raiders. Mike Vrabel isn't even scheduled with an interview. Pete Carroll is. We got a couple of coordinators and coaches that are scheduled with us. We're not going to put all our eggs in one basket, but it's been very, very clear that Ben Johnson is definitely our top candidate. Yeah, Kenny D, I'm with you, true. I think Ben is our next head coach. um, yeah, and as for GM, I know Tampa Bay's John Spytek has interest in that job for the Raiders. And it's really going to be about, pairing a head coach and a GM. That is something that Brady came out and said that he wants to see. So we need, Church. Oh, Church. The coaching and GM needs to be a home run, or Crosby's going to want out. And I didn't even pull that up. Crosby did put out a tweet, man, where he basically is saying that he believes that 2025 is going to be legendary. And it's kind of like one of those, like we go through our hardest trials right before things get, really, really good. I'm paraphrasing, I'm butchering it, honestly. But what it sounded like to me is that Max Crosby is getting really, really excited at the idea of what could be in store for us moving forward. I don't even know how to say your name, man. You guys have some weird names on TikTok. A Volpe, Deion Sanders is going to be the next head coach. And, that's not out of the realm of possibility. That is something, user with the follow, salute. That is something that could happen. The Cisco kid wants to see Brian Flores as our next DC, and we're cleaning house. We are completely cleaning house. Patrick Graham is out there interviewing for the Jaguars head coaching job. He's interviewing as the Bengals DC. He didn't renew his contract, and there's a lot of things that are kind of moving with this to where we've opened up for somebody, a new regime, to really come in and really have their vision as they see fit, right? And that's really most appropriate, because Ben Johnson did say that he wanted to be able to work with a general manager, that of his choosing, basically, right? Or something to that effect is how he worded it. And the fact that the day before we interview Ben Johnson, we went ahead and fired Tom Telesco. And that one was a surprise to many of us, because they came out and said, there was reports from credible sources that said that we were going to roll forward with general manager Tom Telesco. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's fired. And for me, I'm not bothered by that. I don't know that I was happy about the Tom Telesco hiring originally, because when he came in, it's like, well, wait a minute, he just got fired from the Chargers. What's going on? And then we bring in Luke Getsy, and it's like, wait, he just got fired from the Bears. Why are we picking up all these people that just got fired? And then, he goes out there and he signs Garner Minshew in free agency, thinking that we could go ahead and roll forward with this guy. And he didn't make the proper efforts to move up and get a quarterback, because let's face it, even if we couldn't get Jaden Daniels, we could have gotten Michael Penix Jr., we could have gotten a Bo Nix, we could have gone up and done something, and he didn't do any of those things. Now, we got Brock Bowers out of that, right? And getting Brock Bowers, amazing pickup. Jake the Pirate with the follow, salute. And I'm really happy that we got Brock Bowers, but I don't think that having an all-pro rookie tight end is going to do enough, right? And I don't know, some people are speculating that maybe this is based on the fact that, maybe Brady and Mark Davis really didn't like what Tom Telesco's philosophy was moving forward. Nino Beats with the follow, salute. And I don't really know if it's so much about that as much as it's really about clearing space for the next head coach that's coming in to be able to bring his own regime. That way you don't have conflicting viewpoints. That way you don't have, any of this weird stuff of like Tom Telesco's like, well, I was here first, so, he wants to push his weight around or whatever it may be, right? Really being in a position where I think what they did was they sent Ben Johnson a message. They sent Ben Johnson a message saying, you are our guy. And we know that you want to be able to bring in your own GM. So we're going to go ahead and cut ours loose right before you come in the building, just to give you a little nod saying, yep, that you're who we want. Now, there's no reports of exactly what has been said in the interview or what. The fact that, Ian Rappaport is out here reporting that the Raiders are willing to wait says a lot. Joe Sanchez, who pairs well at QB with Ben Johnson as head coach? So actually what I'm hearing is that Shedeur Sanders pairs well with him, right? And I'm not sure that Ben Johnson even likes Shedeur Sanders. I know that Brady and Mark Davis like Shedeur Sanders. And then some people are saying that Shedeur Sanders has a very similar playing style to Jared Goff, which I could see that. So can you imagine Jared Goff was, kind of seen as this bust, and then all of a sudden, once he starts playing under Ben Johnson, now Jared Goff is this like very, he's even in the conversations for MVP, you know what I'm saying? So we wouldn't have to Raider Dog 73, we won't have to hire an offensive coordinator if we get Ben Johnson. Yeah, Brian, Detroit said y'all can't have him. Oh, the fans said that. The organization has not and cannot. So Raider Dog, we won't have to get a offensive coordinator because Raul Ramirez with the follow. Because Ben Johnson would be the one calling the plays, right? And so yes, we would get an offensive coordinator, but that person would be kind of like how it was when we had Josh McDaniels, where we had an offensive coordinator, but that guy was not calling the plays, you know? And so really Ben Johnson will have the freedom to bring in whoever he wants underneath him with that, you know? Kobe Wallace, any news about the interview? That's what we're talking about, man. Right now, what we're looking at is that the interview went well and that the Raiders are basically willing to wait for Ben Johnson. Now they're going to go ahead and interview the other people that they have lined up because that's just kind of how it goes. You got to do your due diligence. Mr. Raider with the follow, salute. Let me get to some of these chats on YouTube, man. Rolling Dubs, we need to bring in the Lions assistant GM Ray Agnew. And that might be a possibility. If that's who Ben Johnson likes to work with, then I could see that as being a high possibility. We also interviewed Aaron Glenn, he's the defensive coordinator for the Lions. So it might be that Ben Johnson comes over here to be head coach, brings their defensive coordinator from the Lions on over, and then brings the assistant GM on over with. I don't really know exactly how that's going to look. Right now, it's all speculation. But I know for me, if I'm Mark Davis, right? Mark Davis has had really hard time choosing personnel. It's been a shit show, man. Over the last 20 years, we've had 12 different head coaches. And so, the fact that Brady is in there making some decisions, pulling his weight, the Brady effect, right? The Brady effect is happening, and we're being able to get interviews with guys like Ben Johnson, right? And then Ben Johnson comes in the building, basically, if I were Mark Davis, what I would have told Ben Johnson is we cleaned house. That way you can build this thing as you see fit. Here's the offer is that whatever anybody else offers you, I'm going to exceed that. I'm going to pay you more than what anybody else will. You have the freedom that if you want to trade up and go get a quarterback in this draft, we will, we'll throw the farm at it if you want. If you want to pull in, Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers, if you want to trade for Hendon Hooker, whatever you want to do, it's yours, right? And by doing that could make this an inviting situation, Kenny D, people don't like it, but there's a strong possibility we end up signing Justin Fields for $11 million a year. I'm pretty sure the Steelers are parting ways with both quarterbacks after tonight. I think that the Steelers are going to hold on to one or the other. I think that the Steelers need to make sure that they have one of those quarterbacks. And it's just a matter of who they're more sold on, And I wouldn't be mad about getting Justin Fields. I don't really know that that's who Ben Johnson would want, See, Kenny D. Sorry, my dude. I was wrong yesterday about the salary cap. We have 98.3 or something like that. I think it's 108. I'm almost positive it's 108 million. But those things, like, I don't know, man. Sometimes I think I know what's happening, and then all of a sudden there's this weird shift that happens, and I miss it, Jeffrey, salute, man. What's good? What's good? I'm slacking over here on TikTok, man. Let me see. Scott, they need to pick the best player available on the board. So many holes in the team. And we do have some holes, right? But without a quarterback, it's going to be all for nothing. Straight up, it's going to be all for nothing. If we don't, Pops with the follow, salute. If we don't get a quarterback right away, I mean, I want to get Carter. If you put somebody like Carter on that defensive line with Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, Adam Butler, Kayvon Chason, I mean, it's just going to be insane. Tyree Wilson is actually stepping up his game, So, like, if we don't get a quarterback, we need to just go ahead and solidify that defensive line. And Malcolm Kuntz is probably going to be insane this year, but it's hard to tell. He's coming back from that injury. We'll see. Rolling Dubs, Steelers played better under Fields. I think they try to keep him. Russell Wilson, when he first came out, made it clear that he was better than Justin Fields, right? which is kind of a no-brainer, but he made that very clear. But as the season progressed and they started getting more tape on him under the Steelers regime, then all of a sudden it started looking real shaky, right? I think he went 6-5 with the Steelers, where Justin Fields went 4-2. So pretty comparable. Russell Wilson's going to cost a shit ton of money. So I don't really see that being a good idea. Now, Kirk Cousins, right? Who mentioned Kirk Cousins over here? Pops 909. Kirk Cousins with Sanders. So Kirk Cousins could be could be a legitimate option for us, right? Because yes, I know Kirk Cousins has played horrible with the Falcons, right? And they benched him. And they announced, right? And I just read an article this morning that said that the Falcons are going to keep Kirk Cousins for next year, but he's going to be a backup and continue to mentor Michael Penix Jr. Now that's a very expensive backup mentor, right? But yeah, and Ben Johnson, I don't think he's going to go to Jacksonville, honestly. But if you look at Kirk Cousins and the way that he plays, he is a pretty good quarterback, right? He's not the best and he's not somebody I really, really want. But if Ben Johnson does accept this job, right? And Marcel was asking about it, the interview went well. If he does accept the job, then Kirk Cousins is a viable option, because if you look at Jared Goff, right, under Ben Johnson's offense, I think Kirk Cousins could do pretty damn good in that same offense. Kenny D. Max Crosby was on UFC yesterday on ESPN as a guest. He said he is nowhere near where he wants to be in his career. He wants to win a championship. I'm okay with trading him. Max Crosby did tweet out a thing this morning, man, or it might have been yesterday, man. He tweeted out a thing that basically he sees 2025 as being like an amazing year, right? He's already manifesting it, but he doesn't really say with the Raiders, right? And with a new regime coming in, you don't know what's going to happen, because it could be that they look at the situation and they decide that they want to do what John Gruden did with Khalil Mack, and let's move on from Max Crosby, get some draft capital, and then go get a quarterback and go get, and put these other pieces in place, and that could be what they want to do. Mike, is Johnson hired somewhere? No, Ben Johnson is still the offensive coordinator for the Lions, and it's going to remain that way through their playoff run. And right now, the Raiders have made it clear that they're willing to wait for him, per Ian Rappaport. Yeah, Kenny D. He did say he's going to do what's best for him and his family, and he did also make it clear that he would rather stay with the Raiders, but also it's like you don't know what's going to happen with a new regime coming in. Gunsmoke, salute, man. What's good? Raider D87. I might be the only one that don't want Ben Johnson. I think Carroll can come in here and establish leadership and leave it to the next man to take over. We're going to go all in on rookie head coach. Shake my head. The thing is, man, is that Ben Johnson is not a rookie coach, man. This guy he's been coaching. I think he started with Boston College in 2011. And he is just like every step of the way. He's learning under the right people. He's changing. If you look at the Lions, right, and you look at how their record was, when they started doing good is when Ben Johnson became their offensive coordinator, because Dan Campbell did not turn that franchise around. I think Ben Johnson turned that franchise around. That's when they really started winning, is when Ben Johnson became their offensive coordinator. So honestly, I think that he's going to turn out to be a really good head coach. It could be a bust, you guys. It could be a bust. It could be that Ben Johnson comes in, because we see it happen quite a bit, right? Where an offensive coordinator does amazing, gets a head coaching job, and then it doesn't go well, and then he ends up getting fired, and then later on he's hoping to get back into offense, like Cliff Kingsbury, right? But also, this is also how all the great coaches start, right? And AP, the thing about Antonio Pierce is I liked Antonio Pierce, right? But he was a linebackers coach. He coached for high school. Like he coached at Arizona State. He did not head coach at Arizona. Like if you look at, he didn't do the proper channels, right? He didn't go through the proper channels to really become an NFL head coach. Whereas Ben Johnson has actually gone through the proper channels to become a head coach. And I really believe that he's going to be good. But Pete Carroll, I'm not against the Pete Carroll, right? The dude is 73 years old. I'm a little bit worried about that. At that age, we wouldn't even let my grandma drive. So, but Pete Carroll, he's a good head coach and he's a proven head coach. Is he better than the other coaches in the AFC West? No, he's not. Does he stand up to? Yeah. Ben Johnson, I think, is more of the younger, up and coming coach that we need to compete in this division. I really do, man. The Cisco kid, you got to start somewhere. John Madden, Tom Flores all started as position coaches. That's exactly right. I don't even want to say your name, man, because YouTube will flag me, but shh, salute for the follow. um, do you hate Broncos fans? I live in New Mexico, man. I'm surrounded by Broncos fans because we're right in between Texas and Colorado. And so all they play on the TV is Bronco games and Cowboys games. And so there's so many from both fan bases, man. It's crazy. Kenny D. Sanders reminds me too much of RG3. All the hype and nothing to back it up. For me, he's too much of a risk. No way. So I don't know how much game tape you've really watched on Shedeur Sanders, because my initial reaction to him was like, no, man, this guy's going to be a bust. It's all hype. It's all, like rarely do you see, you know, an amazing, because he's not really Hall of Fame yet, right? But Deion Sanders, he's going to be Hall of Fame. Do you see a superstar have his kid come into the league and then exceed what he did, right? I think the only person I could think of is Christian McCaffrey. Because if you look at like Bronny James and things like that, right? Like they don't typically come in and then just automatically do better, you know. And shout out to the 200 people in the building. That's what's up. They don't just automatically come in and do great because their dad was a superstar. Actually, usually they don't live up to the hype. They usually don't get out of the shadow of their dad, right? Christian McCaffrey definitely, has proven that it can go otherwise. But if I watched a lot of tape on Shedeur Sanders, right? Because I really wasn't sold. I was more leaning towards Cam Ward. And Raider Films put out a really good one if you don't want to dig through a bunch of film. Go to YouTube, look up Raider Films. He did a Shedeur Sanders breakdown about a month ago. And man, like he talks about the good, he talks about the bad. And there's so much in that really stuck out to me of like, this is a guy that actually I like that he doesn't run the ball a lot, right? I like that he's more like a Jared Goff, right? Where he's mobile and he can run if he needs to, but he chooses not to because he's smart enough to know that quarterbacks who run the ball get hurt, and then the way he navigates the pocket is pretty damn good. And a lot of people are judging Shedeur Sanders based on his dad and based on that bowl game, right? Which he played horrible. And I'm not going to judge him on those kind of things. What I look at is his decision making is pretty damn good, you know. And I look at things like he didn't really have an elite running game. He didn't have an elite offensive line, right? And so he's not somebody who's pampered who has to have those things in order to play well. And our offensive line towards the end of the year started looking really damn good, man. Scott, what do you think about Devontae saying he'd come back? I didn't see that, man. I did not see that. He talked a lot of shit, and honestly, he pissed me off, which sucks because I love Devontae Adams, man. But for him to talk all that shit, let's see. I don't know, man. I'm looking it up. I don't see. I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time looking up articles, man. But interesting. I'm gonna have to look more into that, man, and get back to you. Because there is rumors that Aaron Rodgers is like maybe going to land with the Raiders, which is, I think that would be stupid. But if Ben Johnson comes in here and he says, I want Aaron Rodgers, bring him, bring him, right? Um, I'm all about, like, the thing is, right, is that I personally believe in Ben Johnson so much, right? And I'm not a person that really likes to put all my eggs in one basket, but I believe in Ben Johnson so much that whoever he says he wants, bring him. If he wants Shedeur Sanders, trade up for him. And that's the only way that, because I don't really want to trade up for a Shedeur Sanders, right? Why are you going to pay for what you could have got for free? But if that's who he wants, cool. You know, Kenny D, why can't Brady be our GM? He could. He could. I don't think it's a good move. I do not think it's a good move. I think it's better for him to go ahead and do what he's doing, where he's kind of in charge of football operations, and he hasn't gotten that official title, but basically that's what he's doing, right? Ralph, it was on Up and Adam's show, but he didn't mention the Raiders, so I'm a little confused about that, man. C Mafioso with the follow salute. Still, I don't think the Bears are gonna get Ben Johnson, man. I really, really don't. I really, really don't. Honestly, I think that he's going to get the best offer from the Raiders, and we got no state tax. The thing is, though, is that we don't have a quarterback, and that's a big, big deal. Moose with the follow salute. Sandoval with the follow salute. Chewy Lokes with the follow salute. That's what's up, man. Kawika Fields sucks. Stop it. He does kind of suck, right? He does kind of suck. He's not a great quarterback. I see Fields as being like a patch guy, a bridge guy, a we have no other options kind of guy. Do I think that under better offense, better coaching, he could do better? Yeah, that was clear. He left the Bears, went to the Steelers, played way better with the Steelers. But if you look at my wife is a Steelers fan, right? So I got to see a lot of how he was playing in those first 6 games with the Steelers, and he was winning, but he wasn't looking like an amazing quarterback. He was making the easy throws. He wasn't making mistakes. He wasn't fumbling the ball. He wasn't throwing picks, and so yeah, that turned into wins. But that's over there with Mike Tomlin, man, and that Steelers team. They always damn play good, man. Let me see. Yeah, Aiden O'Connell, and I gotta say it, man. He is not a starting quarterback. He's not, right? And I like Aiden O'Connell, right? And I want him to succeed. But what Aiden is he is the best backup quarterback in the league. Maybe not even that, because Kirk Cousins is a backup now. Who else have we got that's a backup? Justin Fields is also a backup. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he's okay. He's a top 5 backup in the league, right? He's an amazing backup, and I love to have him as the option of, okay, our QB1 goes down with an injury, and then boom, we have somebody that can sustain and maybe continue to win some games, right? Let me see, man. I got to catch up a little bit. M85, what's good, man? Salute. I'm cool with him not being GM. Would rather the head coach have their guy, frees up Brady to oversee other aspects, plus the NFL job. Yeah, and Brady's going to get in a position where he might end up having to leave that analyst job because of his involvement with the Raiders, with his being part of the ownership and making all these decisions, right? And kind of pulling his weight around. So, I don't think that that's going to last very long for Brady. It just depends on, and I don't really know what it looks for life. RN4L77 with the follow salute. I don't really know what that contract looks like on, like, at what point can he step out of that without, like, having to lose or pay too much money or whatever it looks like, right? I don't really know. So a lot of that has to depend on that. Yeah, Kawika. People think Johnson will be another AP. Johnson is the real deal, and that's just Raider Nation flipping out, right, and being just kind of how they are. Raider Nation with the follow salute, because what people see, and usually it's people that haven't really done their research, right, and haven't really been paying that deep of attention. What they see is Raiders are interviewing Ben Johnson. They're like, who's Ben Johnson? Oh, he's an offensive coordinator who's never been a head coach. What are we doing? Why are we going to get another rookie head coach? And he would be a rookie head coach, right? But he'd be a rookie head coach with tons of experience in the league. So it's not the same. It's definitely not the same as getting AP, because AP had almost no experience in the NFL. He was a player. He coached in high school. He coached in college. And then he was a linebackers coach in the NFL. And I think he had only been in a year and a half as a linebackers coach. And then people are like, oh, don't bring any more Patriots. Josh McDaniels brought AP in. So he was part of that whole Josh McDaniels Patriot Way shit, right? So I'm not worried about that shit too much, man. I'm really, really not. Yes, M85, compare the resumes. If you look at the resumes, Ben Johnson has an amazing resume. There's a reason why Ben Johnson is the most sought after head coach in the NFL. And if we can land the most sought out coach in the NFL, I believe that this is going to go the right way. If you look at teams in our position that, go ahead and solidify their stuff at head coach, right? They get a good head coach. Quickly the franchise turns around and all of a sudden they're in the playoffs. And that's all it would really take for us, right? If we get a good head coach and a quarterback, we will be in the playoffs. That's it. That is it. Now, do we have other holes? Yes, we have other holes. We definitely have other holes. But I don't think that it's so complicated that a head coach and a quarterback could not get us to having a winning record. Now, if we want to get to a Super Bowl, yes, we got to be able to fill these other holes. We got to be able to draft well. We got to be able to do well in free agency. Deion Sanders is interested in coaching the Raiders. Now, yes and no. Deion Sanders has made it very clear that the only way that he'll come to the NFL is to coach his kids, right? And so the only way that I see that being a possibility is if they go ahead and decide, like, okay, let's say they don't land Ben Johnson, right? Ben Johnson says, I want to go to the Bears. They already have Caleb Williams, blah, 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 right? Then there's still Pete Carroll, which is probably a better candidate than Deion Sanders. But there is a possibility that the Raiders could say, you know what, we're going to bring in Deion Sanders, and that assures us getting Shedeur Sanders. And then we'll go ahead and draft Shiloh Sanders in the 5th or 6th round, whatever. And then he'll coach his kids. There's so much that can go wrong with that. One of them is that if Deion Sanders becomes the head coach of the Raiders, then if Shedeur Sanders refuses to go to another team, we could get hit with tampering. But if you're saying look it up, is there new news about Deion Sanders? I'm going to look it up real fast. I'm not going to spend too much time reading it. Let me see what pops up. Huh. Okay, I'm going to have to read through that. I do see that. He expresses interest in the Raiders coaching job. Oh, things are getting interesting, man. I don't want to spend. Jeez, I might have to pull this up, man. I might have to pull this up. Shout out, man. Shout out. You guys have been awesome today. You guys have been awesome. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, man, because it looks like there's something to this. Las Vegas Review Journal. It says Deion Sanders, and sorry I can't share it on TikTok. Life of Lumber with the follow salute. Big Rivaldo with the follow salute. I'm sharing it on YouTube, but I'll read it out to you guys, man. So yeah, Deion Sanders expresses interest in Raiders coaching job. This is fucking kind of big, man. Where does it say the date? That was today. This news came out less than 2 hours ago. And this is Vincent Bozignor. So credible source. All right, Colorado football coach Deion Sanders has his eyes on the Raiders coaching job, according to a person with knowledge of the situation. He has a very strong interest in the job, the person said. The person indicated that NFL connected associates of Sanders reached out to the Raiders to express Sanders' interest in the opening. Whoa, dude. The Raiders have begun to interview candidates to replace Antonio Pierce, who was fired Tuesday after the team finished 4-13 in his first full season as coach. On Friday, they interviewed Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, and Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. I don't know how to say that dude's name, bro. The club is scheduled to interview former Seahawks coach Pete Carroll and former Jets coach Robert Saleh next week. And this is making it very clear that the Raiders are the spot to land right now. I mean, look at all these guys that want to come out here, man. It's unclear whether the Raiders are as interested in Sanders as he is in them. Tom Brady, who recently joined the franchise as a minority owner, is spearheading the search for a coach and general manager after the dismissal of Tom Telesco on Thursday. Brady will have a significant voice in the Raiders' decisions. Man, this is kind of big. Sanders' son, Shedeur Sanders, played for his father at Colorado and is regarded as the top quarterback prospect in the NFL draft. And the Sanders and Brady have a long relationship. Another son, Shiloh, was a safety for Colorado the past 2 years. Brady has worked with and mentored Shedeur Sanders over the years. And Brady's clothing brand, TB12, signed the young quarterback to an NIL deal in 2022. Deion Sanders, the coach at Colorado since 2023, has asked this week on Good Morning America if he has an interest in coaching in the NFL. And he said, the only way I would consider it is to coach my sons, Sanders said. The Raiders have the number 6 pick in the draft and most likely are out of position to select Shedeur Sanders, regarded as a top 3 pick. But the presence of his father in Las Vegas could change the dynamics. The Raiders could be more compelled to trade up with Sanders as their coach. Now, another thing to that, and I'll just finish this article. Shedeur Sanders threw for 4,134 yards with 37 touchdowns to 10 interceptions and had 168.2 passer rating last season at Colorado. So this is like a big thing because, okay, let's say you're another NFL franchise, right? And Deion Sanders becomes the Raiders head coach. You know, without a doubt, that the dumbest thing that you could do in the draft is draft Shedeur Sanders. It's like, okay, I'm going to waste my draft pick and then we're going to have an Eli Manning situation and it's going to be all crazy and da-da-da-da-da. And so, boom, then all of a sudden, Shedeur Sanders probably falls to number 6 and we probably just pick him up. Now, they could claim tampering and there could be all this other stuff, but really he wouldn't have to tamper because other franchises would just be like, hey, unless they want to put themselves in a situation where they are forcing the Raiders to trade for him. So they're like, I'm going to draft Shedeur Sanders and I know he doesn't want to play here. And then I'm going to tell the Raiders, give me this, and that. And then he's yours. Right. So shit, man. This just got complicated. This just got real complicated because there's pros and cons to Deion Sanders coming in. Deion Sanders has not coached in the NFL. Deion Sanders, I don't believe, is a better coach than Ben Johnson. Deion Sanders, it's already been rumored that he's probably the second or third choice for the Raiders because Ben Johnson is going to be number 1. If Deion Sanders becomes the Raiders head coach and he brings in Shedeur Sanders and he brings in Shiloh Sanders, if it goes well, hell yeah. If it does not go well, then all of a sudden we're in a position where now, just like how Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler were kind of tied to each other, and so when one got fired, so did the other, then we have a head coach and starting quarterback who are tied together. And then if the Raiders decide, you know what, we want to move on from Deion Sanders, well, shit. What if another team picks him up and then all of a sudden Shedeur Sanders is forcing his way out of Vegas? Then we're in that predicament. Or if Shedeur Sanders turns out to be a bust and he's not doing great and then he flops, is Deion Sanders going to do the right thing and bench his kid? I don't really know, man. Big Daddy LA, what do you think Sanders for Max? That's no. I think Max Crosby is way more influential to this franchise. He's more disruptive on our defense than I think the impact of Sanders. I would be pissed. I would be pissed off if I found out that we went ahead and did that. I would be pissed. Max Crosby for sure, Sanders. I'd be super mad. Now, if it works, then I'd be like, okay, I mean, because really all it comes down to is I want to win. I want to win. David H., what's going on? Let's see, there are many OCs who have not succeeded as coaches. Keep this in mind. A head coach can be successful if all the other parts are in place. AP and Telesco were set up to fail, but it is what it is. And they were, man. They were put in a position, and they also put themselves in a position where it really was not going to work out very good. You don't have a quarterback. You got Luke Getsy as a coordinator. It was set up to fail from the beginning, right? But some of those decisions were made by them. I think that, let's say, in a perfect world, right, where it worked out, we ended up with Cliff Kingsbury, and then Antonio Pierce got Jane Daniels. These guys would still be in the building, right? But it didn't work out that way. And that's the risk that's going to come with anybody else who comes in. Gerardo with the follow salute, another user with the follow salute. So, it's like that with everybody, right? You put the wrong pieces in place and it's going to fail. And sometimes somebody who could have been a very good head coach ends up not being able to put the pieces in place that they want, and then it flops, right? Because it could be the same with Pete Carroll comes in, it flops. It could be the same with Mike Vrabel comes in, it flops. Deion Sanders comes in, it flops. Ben Johnson comes in, it flops. And it also could go the other way with any of them, to where any of those guys come in the building and succeed. It could go either way. Now, my guess, what I truly feel is that if we get Ben Johnson, that's our best chance at actually being able to right the ship and turn this thing around. Do I believe that we also could with Deion Sanders or Pete Carroll? Yes, I do. Do I think that it's as likely? I do not. Because then if Deion Sanders or Pete Carroll come in the building, or Mike Vrabel, what happens is then we end up in a position where they need to get an offensive coordinator. Now, like Pete Carroll has already proven that he can pull in good offensive coordinators and things like that, right? But I don't like that, because then what happens is then you're in the positions that the Lions are in right now, where their offensive coordinator is out there interviewing for head coaching jobs, and they're going, crap, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Let's see. And Ben Johnson is so much better than Deion, a rah guy we need at OC. Yeah, see, and that's the thing, right? Is that Ralph with the follow salute. We want Ben. We want Ben, right? And I know not everybody agrees on this, but what it comes down to is that is who I want. I really want Ben Johnson. Let me see. Raider D87. We gotta roll dice on Dart. Us Raider fans think we too good for every damn QB. We didn't want Bo Nix either, and he's in the playoffs. We gotta chill with that bullshit. So Jackson Dart, he does look good, but really he's just gaining steam because of that Duke game. I've watched some film on Jackson Dart, not enough to really have a good opinion. He's good. He's good. Do I think Jackson Dart is better than Shador Sanders? I do not. Do I think Jackson Dart is better than Cam Ward? I do not. Do I think Jackson Dart is better than Aiden O'Connell? Yes. Let's see. What? Oh man, you guys are funny, man. Unknown Raider guy says Ben Johnson. What's good, Unknown Raider? Um, I don't even know how to say that name. Kenny D. Steve Sarkison's name keeps getting thrown out there for NFL head coach positions as well. I have not heard his name, and I do not know how to say it. Unknown Raider guy. AOC could start right now in 2025, but we got to draft a QB for him to eventually start. And I mean, let's say Aiden O'Connell is our starter moving forward, and we draft the Jackson Dart or Dylan Gabriel to kind of, you know, be groomed underneath him. I don't like that, man. I do not like that. That does not put us in a position to really succeed. It really does not, you know. If let's see, JG, if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm staying on Detroit for another 3 years. Who would want to leave the best offense? He is the best offense, though. That's the thing with Ben Johnson is he is the best offense. Now, yes, they have the best offensive line. They have good receivers. They got a good tight end. They got a good running back, and they got a good quarterback, right? But that's the thing, right? Is that these guys did not succeed the way that they are before Ben Johnson was in the building. So if Ben Johnson leaves, are the Lions gonna, only win 3 games next year? No, they're gonna be a good team, right? They've built it right. If you're Ben Johnson, do you want to stay as an offensive coordinator just so you could be on the winning team? Or do you want to move on to a head coaching position where you get paid way more? Let's say you're at your current job, right? And you love your current job. But then another job comes up and they're like, we're going to pay you 4 times as much as what you make right now. I don't give a shit how much I like my job. I am going. That is what it is. It is what it is, you know? Yeah, bro. Jamo St. Brown, Laporta, Goff, Gibbs would thrive with any coordinator. Not with Luke Getzey. They would not thrive with Luke Getzey. I tell you that much. Let's see. Do, 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 do. The truth. What's good, man? I can't see Ben Johnson taking on a team without a legit QB1. And that's the kicker for us, right? That's the thing that we don't have to offer that these other teams do. The Bears have a QB1. The Jaguars have a QB1. The Patriots have a QB1. So these other teams that are interviewing Ben Johnson, they already have that in place. Now, the big kicker is, does Ben Johnson look at those quarterbacks and say, that's who I want to work with? Does he look at those rosters? Does he look at those franchises and say, that's where I want to be? Or does he look at us and say, you know what? Because these other places, they have GMs in place. That's what we offer, is that we got rid of our GM. That way he has the ability to go in there and build it as he sees fit. Then he looks at us, number 6 pick, and let's see, there's these free agent quarterbacks. There's, maybe we go ahead and trade up for a rookie, whoever he wants, right? He might see a path forward with that he really finds attractive. It could also be the thing that leads him away from us. It could be that he looks at us and he goes, I like the offer, right? Because that they're willing to pay, but where's the quarterback? And he might say, I don't see a path where we get the quarterback that I need to succeed. And that's going to be the big kicker, because if he comes in here and he can't locate a quarterback, then he's not going to do well. He's not going to win a Super Bowl with Aiden O'Connell. He's not, you know. Yeah, unknown Raider guy. Belichick is a no for head coach. Um, Brady didn't even talk to him about being a head coach. Belichick came out and said that he didn't go to North Carolina just to leave. Right, he's going to stay in North Carolina at least for right now. James Furpo with the Raiders. Salute, man. What's good? Let me see. The truth, McCarthy might be a dark horse. He can develop a QB. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't really like the idea of McCarthy, and I also haven't heard any kind of rumors or rumblings that there's no smoke there, you know? Andrea with the follow, salute. Jamal, Raiders hire Ben Johnson, bring in Salah as a DC, and that just depends on if that's who he wants to work with, because I'd be very happy with him as a DC. He is going to interview for our head coaching job, though. Unknown Raider guy, who should be GM? Whoever Ben Johnson or whoever our whatever coach ends up here wants. Tony Jr. That's a funny way to spell Tony, man. I think we get Johnson. He may run with a bridge QB until next year's draft or until he can get a better one. But I also think he can elevate AOC or whoever. And you are not wrong about that. If you look at Jared Goff and Aiden O'Connell's playing style, yes, Jared Goff is better than Aiden O'Connell, right? Don't come at me with pitchforks and torches, right? But the play style, Jared Goff is not like a running back quarterback, right? Is he more mobile than Aiden O'Connell? Yes. But do I believe that Aiden O'Connell would thrive in Ben Johnson's offense? Yes. Do I think that Aiden O'Connell is who we should stick with if we get Ben Johnson? No. But I could see him going the bridge route. I definitely could see that. Can you explain what makes you think Ben Johnson would take the job with the Raiders? Well, he just interviewed in the building yesterday. We already read the article where Ian Rappaport said that basically that's who the Raiders want and they're willing to wait for him. And I think that he would take the job because, for one, Vegas has no state tax, so he's going to make more money. Mark Davis is essentially going to give Ben Johnson a blank check and he's going to say, I'm going to pay you more than whoever pays you. The only big kicker is if Ben Johnson believes that he can put together um, basically a quarterback to be able to succeed here, right? Because we have a lot of other good weapons in place. Do we have some holes? Yes, but we are not so far gone that we cannot um, turn it around quickly. And you already know if Ben Johnson comes in, they're going to give him a full 3 years, you know? Freddie's Fire Rips with the follow salute, man. Jake Rogers, how many coaches are you guys paying right now? So I'm hearing conflicting reports on this because Colin Cowherd came out and said that we're still paying all these other coaches, and that would mean that we're paying like 4 different coaches at the same time. But I don't think that's true. I believe that all like now at the end, this season ended. I believe that we have paid off Josh McDaniels, that we've paid off Gruden, and we owe Antonio Pierce 1 year. So you cash out on that, and then I believe that we're not paying any other coaches. Raider for life with the follow salute, man. Let me get back to YouTube a little bit, man. The truth, you're not wrong, man. You're over here telling the truth. 5-year rebuild is needed realistically. And I don't think that we're really that far out, but we're not in a retooling situation. We have no GM, we have no quarterback, we have no head coach. Like our defensive coordinator is interviewing other places. We don't have an offensive, like basically it's a rebuild, right? But I don't think that we're in a rebuild where we need to gut our whole roster and start from scratch. I think that we're more on like next year we're going to have a better record than we did this year, and then we're really going to see the fruits of whatever hires we make in the next 2 to 3 years. That's really realistically what I think our timeline is. JP from the NW, why did we let Jacobs go? I think that's part of why we let Tom Telesco go as well. Josh Jacobs, he said that he was willing to take less money to stay with the Raiders, but under the condition that he was getting guaranteed that we were going to go get a quarterback. And Tom Telesco said, go ahead and take that deal over there in Green Bay. So Tom Telesco really had no intention on going and getting a quarterback, and that's where he really, really messed up, man. Incog Jr., what's up? I'm seeing a lot of new names, man. That's cool. Please, guys, remember, hit that subscribe button, man. It's free. It's not going to harm you at all, and it's going to help me a lot. So I really appreciate it. Sanders isn't a coach. He's a marketer. Plus, if he's coach and his kid is on the team, he will be more worried about making his kid look good rather than winning games. And winning games makes his kid look good, right? Talented JB with the follow, salute. Joey with the follow, salute. Nolan with the follow, salute. But really what it comes down to is that it's going to hinder his decision-making abilities. When it comes to roster, when it comes to what's good for the franchise as opposed to what's good for his kid, right? I think that he's really CNG with the follow, salute. I think that he'd really be more biased towards making his kid. Like, have you guys ever played on a sports team ever where the coach's kid was on the team? That happened to me so many times, man, like especially in baseball, man. And that kid would always be the pitcher and he always sucked. And it's like, God, why are you having your kid pitch, man? He sucks, and there was always a bias, and then, yeah, the whole coach's kid thing, I don't like that. Has that ever happened in the NFL? Because I don't remember ever hearing about that in the NFL. It seems like a conflict, man, like some nepotism. Kenny D, like I said, Nation, this is a very exciting time to be a Raiders fan. 47 years and going strong. Raider Nation for life. And like it is exciting, but it's really only exciting right now because we have the potential to really right the ship right now. And we all thought that this was going to happen last year, right? There's all this hype coming into we fired Josh McDaniels, AP came in, and it was just like, it's so exciting, and there's like, wow, the possibilities, right? And we all knew, like, yes, he doesn't have the experience, but he has a locker room, and that might be enough. And it wasn't, right? And so it was a huge letdown. That was probably the biggest letdown that I've ever had as a Raiders fan since the Tuck rule, right? Tuck rule and going to the Super Bowl and losing. Since then, I haven't had, I guess Jamarcus Russell was a pretty big letdown, man. I'm not going to lie. But this was a huge, huge letdown. And so a lot of people are discouraged. But there's a lot of hope in the building, man, where if we really, really get this right, we get the right head coach in the building. And, one of the other reasons why Ben Johnson might want to come to the Raiders is also a reason he might not want to. Because we are in a division with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, Sean Payton, and Bo Nix. And he might say, ooh, yo, I don't know about that. Or he might say, you know what? D4 with the follow, salute. He might say, I'm up for the challenge because, are you really winning unless you're winning against the best, right? And if he comes into one of the hardest divisions in the National Football League and he succeeds, he gets to say, what? You know what I'm saying? The truth, JJ McCarthy, QB1, McCarthy, head coach, Pete Carroll, G. What are you talking about, man? No. Pete Carroll's not a GM for sure. And yeah, McCarthy from the Cowboys. Is that who you're talking about? And JJ McCarthy just had a second surgery on his knee, and the Vikings are not going to move on from him. He's going to be like Jordan Love, man. He's going to sit there for a while. Django, Josh McDaniels 2.0. Who are you saying is Josh McDaniels 2.0? Let's see, man. Let's see. Dang, I am behind, man. I'm trying to catch up. I'd sooner get Travis Hunter than Shador Sanders. I would love to have Travis Hunter, but without a quarterback, yeah, I don't know. Django, Ben Johnson is Josh McDaniels 2.0. No. Josh McDaniels went and was the head coach of the Broncos, and he failed miserably. And then he came to be the head coach of the Raiders, and he did the exact same thing that he did over there in Denver. He got rid of the starting quarterback. He brought in all his own people. He treated the locker room like shit, and he messed up the culture, and then he got fired. Did the exact same thing, man. Unknown Raider guy. Ben Johnson is head coach. Jackson Dart, backup QB for 2025. AOC bridge starter QB. That could be a possibility. I have a feeling that if we get Ben Johnson, that we're going to have a way bigger name as quarterback. I don't think that he's going to go that kind of route. I could see him doing that, but more than likely, we bring in a big name free agent or we draft a big name in the draft. Now, we're going to see, when the combine and all of that, a lot of these guys are going to climb. Bo Nix was everybody was saying that that's a second round pick, and then he came out and he came in the first round. Kenny D, Travis Hunter's going number 1 overall to Tennessee. The Titans are sticking with Levis. They will take a quarterback in the later rounds, not the first. If I were the Titans, I would go ahead and draft a quarterback and say goodbye to Will Levis. However, they have already said that they want to stick with Will Levis. And if that is true, Travis Hunter is the best pickup for them. Definitely is. Let me try to catch up a little bit, man. The truth, I'm not knocking Ben Johnson, but he could be a bust as head coach. Raiders have already had a great OC that was bust there. And that happens. That does happen. And I'm not going to say that it doesn't. But this guy, man, I'm telling you, I'm convinced that he is I'm pretty convinced that Ben Johnson's going to be that guy no matter where he lands. Go Jojo. Travis Hunter isn't the best wide receiver or CB in the draft. And you can't play a guy on both sides of the ball in the NFL and have it be sustainable, man. JG, y'all better hope the Lions don't win a Super Bowl, because if we do, I guarantee he'll stay with us. No. We are hoping that you guys win a Super Bowl, because if you guys win a Super Bowl, then he's guaranteed not to stay with you. You got that backwards. You got that totally backwards, man. He'll already have his ring. And he'll say, now I want to go be a head coach. Now I want to go lead my own team to a ring. Kenny D, the New York Giants are morons. They will blow it and they won't draft a quarterback. Oh, man, that's funny. And right now, I mean, the Titans, they should get a quarterback, but they might not. The Browns, Deshaun Watson, his Achilles, they're going to draft a quarterback. The Giants, they need a quarterback. It's looking pretty rough, man. It's looking pretty rough. Rot, what's good, man? Salute. Deion hasn't ever even beaten a ranked team in his coaching history. Now we're thinking of getting him as a coach. And I don't think that we're really thinking about that. I think that he's thinking about that. And I don't know if it's really serious or if he's just trying to get, somebody said, media attention, which is pretty likely. And you guys, please remember, hit them thumbs up. double tap over here on TikTok, man. Let's keep going in the algorithm, man. You guys are awesome. But yeah, I don't think that we're really considering Deion as much as Deion is considering Deion. You know what I'm saying? Um, the truth, love Max, but how good will he be if it takes 3 years from now to be competitive? I don't think it takes us 3 years to be competitive. I think it takes us 3 years to really be where we want to be. I think that we're going to be competitive next year. Azan, Ben Johnson going to the Bears. I mean, if you're a Bears fan, then that's what you're hoping for. But I don't think that that's what's going to happen. Because all right, do you really think that Ben Johnson wants to be, um, you know, do you think he wants to stay in the NFC space with the follow salute? Or do you think he'd want to move over to the AFC? That way he's not going against his former team quite as much. You know what I'm saying? I think that he probably want to end up going across. Dino, will you move to YouTube if TikTok still around or not around? Dino, I'm actually on YouTube right now and Facebook and Twitch. I multi-stream right now. I'm on 4 platforms. So I'm on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch live right now. That's why it probably gets confusing because I'm trying to bounce around between the chats and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Doug Staff with the follow salute. Hummer in the building. What's good, man? It seems the risk was Sanders here with his son. Here is he would put the importance of the son over the importance of the team. Yeah, and we were talking about that a minute ago, man. I'm a little bit behind on the chat, but you know, that scares me. That really scares me. However, if Deion were to become our coach, then that pretty much guarantees that we're getting Shedeur Sanders, which guarantees us to have a quarterback. Because the thing that worries me is to move forward without a quarterback, man. You know, JG, if anything, Ben Johnson is a terrible coach. He would be just like Shane Steichen. Oh, so now that you're starting to feel like he might leave, you think he's going to be terrible, even though you want to keep him. That's confusing, man. JG. And there's a possibility that you're right, man. There is definitely a possibility that you're right, but honestly, I think that he's gonna do good, man. Hondo, Al said himself, Mark doesn't know shit about football, and Mark said that himself that he doesn't know shit about football, and that's okay. He doesn't have to. That's why he brought in Tom Brady. He's been looking for somebody to do that for him for years. And that's why John Gruden had so much control. That's why he let Josh McDaniels run the show. That's why he's done all this stupid stuff. JG, yeah, I'm saying he hasn't proved to be a leader, but he's a great coordinator. And that's true, man. And, and it happens that sometimes coordinators become head coaches and then they flop. I think that this dude's going to do good, man. Kenny D, we need to hit the mark in free agency too. There are some bangers in the free agent pool at all positions. Yeah, I'm actually hoping that we get Najee Harris and then also potentially draft a running back because it's a deep running back class, maybe in the third or fourth round. But Sincere McCormick did pretty good. I think we're gonna keep Amir Abdullah, and then we still haven't really seen much from Dylan Laube. So if we picked up a Najee Harris, that might be enough, and then we don't even touch running back in the draft. Josh, would you take Pete Carroll? Pete Carroll is probably. It's hard to say for me. He's either my second or third choice right now. Really, I would want Ben Johnson first. Pete Carroll. It's hard, man. It's difficult because there's some good names in the building. Or the Chiefs defensive coordinator. The dude ran a legit defense, man. And also to steal him from the Chiefs feels kind of good. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so the truth. I doubt Johnson will come to the Raiders. OC wants a legit QB. If Brady has input, I think he goes with who he knows. Brady's the reason why Ben Johnson came in the building. Tom Brady has spoken very, very, very highly of Ben Johnson's offense. He said that he would want to play in a Ben Johnson and offense, right? And if he has been, mentoring Shador and he likes Ben Johnson's offense and he got him to come interview, he could be thinking, we're going to bring in Ben Johnson to coach. That way Shador can play in his offense. That's what I'd be thinking, man. I'm way behind, man. I'm going to catch up a little bit. Ed, what's good, man? What about Steve Wilks? Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks. For some reason, it's not even. Oh, from the Panthers. His assistant head coach. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's not somebody I really have my eyes on, and I haven't heard any kind of rumors about him being set up for any kind of interviews or anything. Kenny D, 54 in the chat, only 22 likes. Come on, guys. Hit that thumbs up. Appreciate it, Kenny D. See, the truth, Goff is no sloth. He went to a Super Bowl with the Rams. Johnson has a very strong, talented offense to start with. Can he rebuild a team like the Raiders? I honestly, like I said, I think we're really a quarterback away from playoff contention. And I think that if we want to actually win some playoff games, yeah, we have some other holes. But with $108 million worth of cap space, and, we have 5 picks in the first 108 in the draft, we got potential to fill these holes, man. Night Warrior with the follow salute. Ben Johnson also said the our players help him create a lot of the plays. It's not just him. JG, you're right, but that doesn't mean that's only Lions players that can do that. Scorcher, Aaron Glenn is our best bet. Aaron Glenn did interview yesterday. I wouldn't really want to bring him in as a head coach, Joe. Joe with the follow. Salute, man. Joel Deion connected to the Raiders just now. Yeah, we read that article, man. It just popped up. That's crazy. See, Tony Jr., Ben Johnson, head coach / OC, Robert Saleh, DC, if they can coexist. And that's the big one, right? Is that we want to be able to look at the names that are potentials. Little Snoop with the follow, Joel with the follow, salute. We want to look at the names that are available and piece it together ourselves. But it could be that what we think is ideal, they don't want to work with each other. Could be that they have other plans. Let's see. James Furpo, why can't the GM hire the head coach like it's supposed to be in other stable teams? It's not like that on all teams, right? And the way that they hired AP and then brought in Telesco, it was a weird because they weren't ever paired together. They didn't they didn't have any kind of relationship. Neither of them chose each other. So that was a bad decision. And so that's why, that really did not work out. Now, if you look at what Tom Brady said about that, the reason they got rid of Tom Telesco is because he wanted it to be a situation where it was a head coach and a GM that are already a cohesive unit, two people that want to work together that are already connected to each other. So I liked that. I do like that for sure. Oh, man. Bring in T. Higgins to go with Jacoby and Bowers. Little Snoop, I mean, that would be amazing. The biggest thing right there, though, is that we have to secure a quarterback for them. Let's see. CNG, we don't need no Sanders. He's going to be another Jay Russell. So a lot of people keep comparing him to Jamarcus Russell, which is completely inaccurate. T. Stoner with the follow. And the reason I say it's inaccurate is because Jamarcus Russell had no work ethic. He had no desire to put in the necessary work to succeed. Shador Sanders has that. Now, Could he be a bust? Yeah, he could be a bust, but he's not going to be a Jamarcus Russell. Jamarcus Russell just gave up on life. Um, Night Warrior with the gift. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. JG, if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm asking for a blank check and staying a coordinator. The thing is that Mark Davis is offering him a blank check to become a head coach, I'm sure, right? There's no way that he's going to make more as a coordinator than a head coach. R. Davila with the follow. Salute, salute. Hey, Josh with the gift. Thank you. CNG with the gift. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. AZ AZ Doe. I'd rather get Steve Spag. How do you say his name, man? Spagnuolo? Anyway, yeah, I think that that's a great option. That's probably number 3 or 4 on my list, though. JG, true, but head coaching is way harder than a coordinator with a shit ton of weapons. I mean, it's true, but if you look at the Raiders, we got a shit ton of weapons too, man. We do. We're not that far off. We are not that far off. Our rookie tight end just made first team all pro, you know? Let's see, man. Randy Jones, what's good? Why not go get Justin Fields and give him a better OC that can really build him and build the O line? Randy, you're not wrong, man. Justin Fields definitely with a better OC would do better. Moving from the Bears and Luke Getzey over to the Steelers, and we saw progression there. We saw him get better. I think that he still has a higher ceiling than what he's playing at, and our offensive line is actually. It's actually gotten pretty good, I think that we need to definitely get rid of Andre James because when our offensive line was Colton Miller, Jordan Meredith, Jackson Powers Johnson, Dylan Parham, and then DJ Glaze on right tackle. Our offensive line was getting amazing numbers and actually doing a really, really good job. A lot of people were blaming our running game on our offensive line, but as we saw towards the end of the year, our running game started getting better, right? And I think a lot of it is Alexander Madison and Zamir White suck. See, yeah, Malabay, the Raiders have many good building building blocks, man. Doug Staff, Raiders need Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins is they already came out and they said that he's going to be a backup to Michael Penix, so Kirk Cousins could be available. And if Kirk Cousins is available and somebody like Ben Johnson comes in the building and believes that Kirk Cousins is good enough to put everything together, then yeah, we'll see it, man. Dave S., what's good? Like it or not, Tom Brady brings street cred to these perspective choices. And that's exactly what these articles are saying that, basically the Brady effect is actually working and people are more willing to come take a look at the job because Tom Brady is here. Because a lot of times these top coaches and these big name people, they don't even want to look at us, man. Jose, what's good, man? Not Sanders, plan C, maybe, but who will be his OC and DC? And that's the big one, right? Is that if we bring in somebody like Sanders, it's like we don't already have those things tied in. Whereas like Ben Johnson or Pete Carroll, I believe that both of these guys will already have their people lined up and they'll be able to put together their staff. Whereas I think it's a little bit more difficult for somebody like Deion Sanders to be able to do that. Dodger Rick with the follow salute. JG with the follow salute. What's good, man? I'm glad you guys are following. Thank you so much. Let's see. Yeah, Kenny D, just having Brady as part of our organization gives us some credibility. Not only does it do that, but it gets Mark Davis out of the position where he's actually making football decisions. Raider Demon with the follow salute, because when you have somebody like Mark Davis who admittedly doesn't know shit about football making football decisions, that's why we have this shit show. Tom Brady has, he's more connected, right? And it's more the name than anything because we don't really know that he's going to be able to come in here and actually make these good decisions, right? A lot of that is assumption, but I think just him having his name and knowing the people he knows, and having that the weight, right? He gets to have that pull. I think I think counts for a whole lot. It really, really, really does. Jared with the share. Thank you, thank you. Dave S. That's right. Never thought Tom Brady would be a Raider possible savior. And what it comes down to, man, is for the Tuck rule. I think Brady he owes some amends to us, man. He owes us some amends, and if he can take us to a Super Bowl, all can be forgiven, right? Some people are saying, would you forgive Brady and the Tuck rule if he gets Ben Johnson? And that's kind of a reach because we don't really know for a fact that Ben Johnson will succeed. Now, if Brady can be the guy to put things in place to take us to a Super Bowl, all is forgiven, right? You take one away from us, and you can give us one, right? Because let's face it, man, that year without the Tuck rule, I don't know. I think we had it that year, man. Yeah. Let me see. Reggie M again for GM. I don't really want to speculate on who we're going to put in GM because we made it very clear that we opened up that spot because it's not. They made it clear that Tom Telesco didn't mess up, right? That they're not upset with Tom Telesco. It's basically just that they wanted to clear the space. That way, whoever's coming in can bring in their own regime. And that's it, man. Um, so yeah, I don't think we need to speculate on that. The truth, Goff has the years of experience that makes the system work in Detroit. And remember, Detroit is good on both sides of the ball, making the DC and OC look better than they may be. They do have a good roster on both sides of the ball. They really, really do. But I mean, you can have a good roster and not perform well. It can happen. You can also have good coordinators and not have the roster to support. So it's all about it being everything together. American Bully with the share. Thank you. Um, you need to play complementary football. James Football. What if BJ wins with Lions or loses and wants to run it back another year, win or lose? That's what he did last year. That's what he already did last year, and I think that he's waiting for the situation that he sees ideal to become available. And also, you got to think about the fact that if Ben Johnson runs it back with the Lions and the Lions start to hit a decline, right? Which I'm not saying that they will, but if they do, then it's tied to his name. And so it's really vital for him to hit when the iron's hot and instead of just kind of waiting too long and then messing it up. So really he didn't take it last year. He went ahead and declined head coaching jobs and he stayed over there in Detroit. And I think that this year the writing's kind of on the wall that um he's going to end up taking a head coaching job. And there's plenty of prospective places that he could go right now that can set him up for a good future. The Bears is definitely one of them. They got a good, solid roster. Jaguars, I don't think is as attractive. They got Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence, and then that concussion kind of messed him up, man. It's really kind of sketchy over there. And then the Raiders being able to bring in his own regime and do all this stuff, Dane with the follow salute. Um, then I really think that this is the most attractive spot. I really, really do. Because we've laid out the red carpet for him. Gunsmoke, AOC ain't that bad, but he also ain't that good. You know what I'm saying? And like I've said before, man, and you know how I've spoken about in O'Connell, I like the kid. I just don't think that he's ever going to take us to a Super Bowl. I don't. And if you honestly believe that your quarterback will never take you to a Super Bowl, why? Why? Then why? You know? Yeah, unknown Raider guy. Tom Telesco messed up by bringing in Minshew. Garbage Minshew. And that is facts. And I think that they didn't say that that's why, but I think there's things like that that were kind of the reason why he ended up getting hit. What's going on, Q? What's good, man? Good to see you. Um, let's see, man. I keep thinking I'm catching up, man, and I'm not, man. I am not. John Leon, what's going on, man? Do you think we can trade AOC for a draft pick? If we traded Aiden O'Connell, I think that we get a sixth rounder at best for him. So I don't think it's really worth us moving on from him because he's proven that he is a very solid quarterback two. He's probably a top three or top five quarterback two in the league. And really, after Kirk Cousins moves away from the Falcons and Justin Fields are Russell Wilson, that whole thing they get separated. He might end up being the best QB2 in the league, And so, yeah, I think he's more valuable to us if we hold on to him, man. Seeing a lot of new names in the building on both sides, man. I'm really happy to see it. You guys remember, hit that subscribe. It's free to you. Helps me out a lot. Appreciate it. Uh, Kenny D, 22 free agent quarterbacks right now, and the list has some pretty good ones and some not so good ones. I like Josh Johnson, and Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, let's face it, the Vikings are probably going to franchise tag him. Dwayne with the follow salute, and I think that they're going to probably franchise tag him and it's going to cost them like $60 million, right? But that's probably the best decision for them because if they sign him to a contract, then they got to commit for several years. Whereas if they franchise tag him, they can run it back with him, evaluate him for the next year. And if he doesn't do so good, then they got JJ McCarthy. And if he does really, really good, then they can debate on if they want to keep JJ McCarthy or not. I have a feeling that they're going to go ahead and keep JJ McCarthy throughout his whole rookie contract, and evaluate Sam Darnold in the meantime. You can't win 14 games and not run it back, Jeffrey, what's good, man? Salute. Glad you made it, man. So we're already an hour and a half in, but you guys are on it today, man. Jeffrey, Cam Ward is heavily rumored to go to the Titans. That is not something I've heard yet. If I were the Titans, that is the move that I would do, which all of a sudden means that the Browns and the Giants are in a really rough position where they need a quarterback, and Shedeur Sanders is like the only one left in the first round. Let's see. Hummer. Ben Johnson brings in Aaron Rodgers. There's been some rumors about us being the most likely landing spot for Aaron Rodgers. And, everybody says how Aaron Rodgers had this horrible year and all that stuff. But then I saw a comparison on stats between Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen, and their stats are like the same. So the wins are just not there, man. The wins are just not there. And so if the wins are not there, yes, it's going to reflect negatively on the quarterback. Wouldn't it be hilarious if Devontae Adams leaves and then Aaron Rodgers comes in, man? That'd be so funny, man. Somebody was saying earlier that Devontae Adams was talking about that he would come back to the Raiders, which is weird, right? Now I could see him looking at like, hey, the Raiders are probably going to pick up Ben Johnson, and if they did pick up Aaron Rodgers, then yeah, I would go back, right? But I don't really know, man. I don't know that he'd be welcomed back so great because of the way he left. The way he left was really, really awful, man. Dave S. I'd rather see us go best player available again, like we did Bowers. I mean, that's always what we want to see, but sometimes you got to draft for a need. And right now, our need is quarterback. So if we are able to go and get a free agent quarterback, let's say Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields or whoever, right? And then just do best player available, then that's really what is best for us drafting. It really is. Let's see. The truth. Yeah, I mean Ben Johnson, if he goes to the Bears and wins, we will all say that he would have done the same here. But the Bears have a legit QB to start with, and that's true. You know, it's the same with Cliff Kingsbury, right? Where it's like, oh, if we had just kept Cliff Kingsbury, we would have had a great year. But he had Jaden Daniels over there, you know, and so if we got Cliff Kingsbury, gave him that third year that supposedly is why he left, then we don't get Jaden Daniels, then all of a sudden we're in a position where, yeah, I mean, we're probably not doing great. You know, we would have done better than we did with Luke Getzey, that's for sure. Rich, Ben Johnson to New England. The writing's already on the wall, man. I think it's going to be Mike Vrabel, man. Mike Vrabel, everything that he said that he wants out of a franchise, New England has it, and it's just there, man. West Jersey with the follow, salute. And really, I mean, Drake May is good, but is he? Is he? That's still yet to be determined, man. Jeffrey, the Browns, they really want Kirk Cousins, so they may get a quarterback in the third round. Wow. Okay, that would be interesting, man. That would be very, very interesting. Dane, Ben Johnson needs to stay in Detroit. He needs to remember what loyalty is and forget money. Yeah, it's not going to happen, Dane. You know, you have somebody that's offering you that much money, you're going to take it, man. I mean, that is what it is. Brendo Ballbomber, what's up, man? Rex Ryan, GM. Ben Johnson, head coach. Dart QB, OC turns DC Sala. If Ben Johnson's our whose turns, man? So Ben Johnson would be calling the plays and stuff. Rex Ryan for GM. I don't know, man. I don't know. Dart though, Jackson Dart, he's pretty good, man. He is, but I'm not so sure. CG with the follow salute. Who said he isn't leaving? Reefer Madness. Who said he's not leaving? I don't know, man. Just win a playoff game, Dave S. Been 22 years. And that is nasty work, man. That is nasty. That's been so long for us, man. John Leon says trade Max, get another first round pick, get our cornerback and another quality player in the first. The only way I'd be okay with trading Max Crosby is if it turned into a franchise quarterback that actually succeeds. Because besides that, the culture that Max Crosby brings, the disruption that Max Crosby brings, he counts for so much, man. He's a very, very valuable player, man. Um, very, very valuable. And you could be right about that. John Max will not win us a Super Bowl in the next 3 years, build a team with draft capital. But see, that's what John Gruden thought about Khalil Mack. And then they busted on all of those picks that they got on Khalil Mack. It was just such a shit show. And Khalil Mack is still an amazing player, you know? Jordan Mason. Jeffrey, who's Jordan Mason with, man? Is the running back I'm more interested in. He's 25, just had a breakout season. He would be cheap. Who's he with, man? Latif Cooks, what's good? Salute, salute. Haven't seen you in here before. Champ Kelly, Ed Dodds. So Champ Kelly's already in the building. I think that if they were going to give Champ Kelly the job, they should have done it this last year. Um, Ron Justice Jr. with the follow salute. So I think if Champ Kelly was going to get a shot, it would have been last year, you know? Calix Rose. Here's a good DC. Who are you talking about? You know, Berendo, you're not the first person to say Pete Carroll for GM, which is really weird because Pete Carroll's not a GM. John Leon, Adams, Carr, Jacobs, all traded or released. Nothing's guaranteed. No, and it's always the shield over everything, right? But it has to make sense, right? We let Derek Carr go without getting anything back in return. We let Jacobs go without getting anything back in return. Adams, we got a 3rd-round pick, and so if we're gonna do that, we need to make it make sense. And I look at the Khalil Mack trade deal when it comes to whether we keep Max Crosby or not. Now, if there was a time to get rid of Max Crosby, it would be right now. He's in his prime. He has no more guaranteed money left on his deal. Now would be the time to do it if we do it. I don't want to do it. That doesn't mean that we won't. And the only way I'll be happy with getting rid of Max Crosby is if we for sure get a franchise quarterback that leads us to being a winning franchise. Because that's what I want more than anything is a win. Raider Chris with the follow salute. Yeah, PG never signed his contract extension. Yeah, Ron Justice, Patrick Graham is over there interviewing for the Jaguars head coach. He interviewed for Bengals defensive coordinator. It just is what it is, man. What? Dang, man. Yeah. Telesco ending up with Minshew should have got Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield. And that's a big reason why I don't like Tom Telesco. Because if you look at his draft, he did amazing in the draft. Free agency, he failed. Christian Wilkins, great signing, except he got injured. But besides that, Garner Minshew, like, there was better things available. Now, and he didn't even make the call on a lot of those. Gown. Jeffrey, my issue with Justin Fields is he throws a flat ball. There's no air under it. And I mean, that's Justin Fields, man. He's good, but he's not somebody that I would really want to seek. Like I said that we should have signed him this last offseason. And of course, he didn't want to pair up with Luke Getsy again, right? But I think Justin Fields would have been better than Garner Minshew for sure. But I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think that Justin Fields is somebody that we should really think about rebuilding our franchise with. Lenny Bustamante, Michael Thomas, hell no. Who are you talking about, man? Yeah, the truth. Tyreek Hill's looking for a new home. I don't think that it's going to be with the Raiders, honestly. Um, do I like Tyreek Hill? Yes. Do I think he should land here? Probably not. Tyreek Hill was staying in Miami. They already talked about that whole situation. Jeffrey, is that how it ended up shaking out? Because it was looking like he was probably going to leave, man. Raider Mac, what's good? Salute. Ben Johnson needs to be our coach. If not, someone better or same. Stop the Deion talk. We need to go forward, not back. And yeah, Ben Johnson, like your life depends on it. Deion Sanders is like a very much afterthought. It's even weird that he's trying to throw his name in the hat all of a sudden because he said that he wanted to stay in Colorado and that the only way that he wanted to leave would be to coach his sons. Now, he might look at the Raiders and be like, the Raiders are probably the only ones that would give me the ability to be their coach and draft both my sons. But I don't know, man. It's a little weird that now he's throwing his name in the hat now after he sees that the Ben Johnson interview went well, Dave S. Ray Agnew is assistant GM for the Lions at the moment. Perhaps he and Ben Johnson for head coach come together as a package. And that might be who Ben Johnson has in mind when he says that he wants to be able to bring his own GM, right? It could be that. Uh, Ron Justice, hashtag tampering. And that's another one, right? We bring in Deion Sanders and then we could get hit with a tampering very easily. And that's a little sketch, man. Let's see. Mm. Oh man, Hummer. Tom Tuck Brady owes us 2 Super Bowls. One to break even, another to drop Tuck from his name. Tuck that shit. You are not wrong, bro. You are not wrong. Okay, so Kenny D. Khalil Mack is a free agent. Do we bring him home? Would I want Khalil Mack on this roster? Yes, I would. Can you imagine Max Crosby and Khalil Mack? Because Max Crosby is way better than Joey Bosa, right? That would be an amazing. But what it really, really comes down to is Khalil Mack left from here very, very salty with the Raiders. Could that be amended? It could, but I don't know, man. Mr. Been there, done that. Prime time in Vegas. Let's go. All right. So, Mr. Been there, done that. Would you rather have prime time than Ben Johnson? Let me know. Let's see. I don't want all these retreads, man. I do not. Amelia, what's good? Why would the Raiders spend a number 6 pick on a QB with a pretty weak class? The Raiders could pick up someone like Jackson Dart from Ole Miss if he declares for another QB in the later rounds. So I like Jackson Dart. I don't know that. I mean, he's got a lot of development to do. He really, really does. And I haven't really watched quite enough tape on him to really have a full opinion. I've watched some. I do like what I see. I do think that he's better than Aiden O'Connell, but I don't think that we could really build a franchise around him right now. And that's the problem that we have is that we don't have a quarterback right now. And since we don't have a quarterback right now, I would love to get best player available instead and build this roster the right way. But without having a quarterback, you're not going to be able to win. And bringing in a new coach, they're going to want a quarterback because if you don't get a quarterback, you're going to end up like Antonio Pierce and you're going to get canned. Amelia, shout out to you. I'm going to say it again. New names in the building. I love to see it. Please hit that subscribe. Please hit that subscribe. Non Raider guy. I'd rather bring Brady out of retirement than sign Rodgers. Yeah. I mean, Brady's definitely a lot older, though. But yeah. That Raiders fan, bro. You guys only here talking shit in the comments, man. Latif Cooks, what's good? Who do we really need as head coach if we don't land Johnson? If we do not land Ben Johnson, who do I want or who do you think I what the hell? My brain's not working, man. Who do I think the Raiders will get? Wiccan with the follow salute. So really, okay, if we don't land Ben Johnson, I think that the two most likely that the Raiders will select is Pete Carroll or Deion Sanders. Who do I want if we don't get Ben Johnson? Probably either Pete Carroll or I don't know how to say his name, the defensive coordinator from the Chiefs. And I don't really know that he'd be a good head coach. What attracts me to him is just the fact that he has an amazing defense over there, and then that we'd be stealing him from the Chiefs. Addition by subtraction, right? Dang, Jeffrey, Brock Purdy, he might come available because his contract is coming up, and I don't think the 49ers want to pay him. I think the 49ers are going to go ahead and pay him, man. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know. Jesse Wyatt says Chiefs coaches off limits. You know, you get some stuff from the inside. Ron Justice, if no Johnson, Pause, Pete Carroll, or Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen, I haven't even seen his name as like somebody that we're interviewing. I think that we should because he's the offensive coordinator from the Bucks. I think that we should be kicking the tires on that. Let's see, Kenny D. We basically traded Khalil Mack for Alex Pleatherwood. I think we all know how that turned out. That really turned out horrible, horrible. So, yeah, it worries me. Amelia, I have a feeling the new Raiders GM is either going to be John Robinson or Thomas Dimitroff. They both have strong connections with Brady when he was with the Pats. So, I mean, Brady already came out and said that he wants it to be a position where the head coach and GM get to kind of come in together and be on the same timeline, be on the same page, be a cohesive unit. So I think it's really going to be about finding a head coach that brings who they want to work with as GM. I think that that's the way it's going to go. Let me see. Damn, see, y'all don't even need me, man. You guys are just having conversations without me. That's cool. Let me see. The truth. Shador wants to be a giant. Remember his cleats. He was also driving by Allegiant Stadium and putting on his Instagram story with a thing that had a caption that said legendary, and he was all Raiders until we fell out of the top pick. And then he was like, oh, Giants, it's going to be Giants. I'm going to get these cleats. It's all about media hype. And honestly, he might not end up with either of us, which would be really funny. Let's see. California Dave, what's good, man? I don't really see any QBs in free agency or in the draft to build a team around. Uh it's not as easy as last year, man. Last year it was very clear that there were some quarterbacks that were franchise guys, and now it's a little bit less clear. I think that Cam Ward or Shador Sanders could potentially be guys that are worth building around. I've seen some really good tape on them. I think that somebody like a Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields could be a good bridge guy, but not really somebody to build the team around, you know? So there's quite the dilemma this year. That is facts. Dave S, yeah, the top two QBs in this draft aren't game changers like last year's QBs. And that's facts, man. I mean, I knew that CJ Stroud was going to be good, but honestly, he had a down year. I knew Jane Daniels would be good. I don't really personally like Caleb Williams. I would honestly take Shador Sanders or Cam Ward over Caleb Williams, and because Caleb Williams' attitude. I really, really don't like his attitude. And a lot of people say Shador Sanders' attitude is like Caleb Williams, but it's really not. I mean, it's not great, but it's not as bad as that. I really liked Jaden Daniels because Jaden Daniels was very humble, man. Really, really, and his skill set. Sholoman, would you trust Ben Johnson to develop Dart if he was our new head coach? If Ben Johnson said, I want Jackson Dart, and we're going to run it back with Aiden O'Connell for 1 year while we develop Jackson Dart, I would 100% trust that. I would trust that because I would basically Ben Johnson, if he becomes our head coach, I am going to trust whatever decisions he makes. If he says I'm going to give up 3 first-round draft picks to go get Shador Sanders, I'm going to trust it. And that's just where I stand right now. And it could be that he does come in and he makes some weird decisions and then he messes everything up and then and then all of a sudden, then I might change my mind, man. Let's see. Spags. Yeah, definitely Spags is on the radar. So California Dave has good, Joe Burrow, Rodgers, Williams, Tua, all the good QBs not in the dance, ultimate team sport. And that's true, right? A QB is not going to make your franchise. Trevor Lawrence. There's several good QBs that they're not in, right? They're sitting on the couch. But to do it without a QB is very, very difficult. Like I've said before, I think Aiden O'Connell in the right situation can take us to the playoffs. But I do not see Aiden O'Connell being a guy that takes us to a Super Bowl. I don't, you know? And I hope he proves me wrong, if they stick with him. Let's see, man. Walt, what's good, man? Ben Johnson has 3 possible GMs with the Lions: Ray Agnew, John Dorsey, and or assisted GM with the Bucks. Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been speculating Ray Agnew would be the guy, but I don't really know what that. It could be that it's somebody that isn't even on our radar. But I think you're right, Walt. I think that these would probably be the top candidates. Let's see. Yeah, and there is some clown show stuff with Shador, the truth. There was things like he was saying about wanting to be with the Raiders, Brian Allen with the follow salute. And then he got those Giants cleats. And then, there's been a lot of times where uh he's like flashing his watch, during games to fans and stuff, and doing like kind of weird stuff, right? But I think that there's a lot of those things that could be kind of reeled in when he gets to the NFL. And I believe that he's a guy that's going to put in the work because his goal is to really, um, he wants to surpass his dad's legacy, and you can't do that by being a clown. Brian Allen with the follow, Edward Rivera with the follow salute. Matt, please let Ben Johnson come to New England. Vegas can have Vrabel. The thing is that we're not even interviewing Vrabel, and Vrabel is probably a lock to go to New England. Jason Sampson with the follow salute. Ron Justice, I really don't like Milrow. I personally don't like him either. Charlie Brown with the follow salute. I don't really like Milrow myself, man. Raider G, what's good, man? We have so many options to upgrade the QB position, given that Ben Johnson is coach, McCarthy, Darnold, Fields, or a trade we have no idea about. A QB, a team is willing to give up for a high draft pick. There are a lot of options right now. There are a lot of options, and it's really going to be about whoever our coach and GM combo ends up being, who lands in the building, and then we're going to start getting a better gauge on what direction they want to go, right? What is this really going to look like? And it's at this point, man, there's so much possibilities that the speculation can just be crazy. Walt says Raiders aren't drafting Dart. And I don't really believe that they are. I think a lot of people got high on Dart because of the Duke game. I've said it before that, you ever just hear an NFL player's name and think like that guy's going to be a good player just based off his name? Because Jackson Dart sounds like a quarterback name, right? But that doesn't count for everything, man. And I got to watch some more tape on it. Now we're in the off season. I'm going to start watching some more tape on some of these guys and getting a really good feel for them. Let's see. Kenny D. Rumors are the Jets are very highly interested in Trevor Lawrence. That is interesting because doesn't he have a no trade clause? I believe he does, but I mean, Jags just paid him a lot of money and it's not really translating for them. And they have the number 5 pick right now. So there could be something that shifts there, man. But he is coming back from that injury, man. That concussion messed him up. Dave S., I think that the Sanders thing is a bit too much drama. I don't think Brady wants that sideshow. The thing is that Tom Brady has been mentoring Shador Sanders. So they really, really have a connection, and I see it as being a pretty high possibility. See, California Dave, Purdy and Darnold uh, and Jared Goff aren't the best QBs in the world, but have excellent play callers. And that is what it comes down to, California Dave. That is what it comes down to, is that often you see these quarterbacks, they fail, right? Baker Mayfield is doing horrible. Sam Darnold is doing horrible. Brock Purdy was the last guy picked in the draft that year, right? And you see them go to a spot where all of a sudden there's a good fit, right? You get a good play caller, you get a quarterback that can make it happen, and then it works out. And like Sam Darnold, it could be Sam Darnold leaves from the Vikings, goes to another team, and flops. It might just be that he really fits in that system. So getting Ben Johnson over here is a huge one, and the truth, Milton from the Patriots, a lot of people like Joe Milton because he did really good in that last game. But what it comes down to is it was a game that was in garbage time in the season. And so I really don't think that that's going to translate. We've been already here for 2 hours, you guys. I hate to leave with so many of you in the building, so much engagement. You guys have been amazing today. We're going to see, man. I think that it's going to be a little bit before we really, really get some real news that solidifies what's going to happen. Jason with the follow, salute. It's going to take a little bit, for us to really know what's going to happen with this coach. But I really appreciate you guys being in the building, man. On our way out, please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe. It's free to you. It's going to mean a lot to me. I appreciate you. Like always, I love you, nation. I will see you guys on the next one.